Hey there, this is Bart from Shine On Coffee Roasters. I'm here at High Point Market with Daniel, and we're going to talk about French press coffee.
French press is a great way to get started brewing at home. I like French press because it's easy and it's consistent. You can walk away from it and it's still going to be the same quality coffee.
Obviously, the first thing you'll need is coffee. It's good to use a local coffee or coffee from a roaster that you trust and that you like their coffee. You want to make sure that it has the roasted on date, and that way you know when the roaster roasted it and to ensure quality. You want to make sure it's optimal, it's ideal to brew it within a week or two of the roast.
Yeah, it really helps when you have a good friend roasting just a couple blocks away. Now, the next most important thing is going to be a grinder. Now, I know not everyone can grind coffee at home, and that's okay. Your local coffee shop can grind it for you. A lot of grocery stores have a grinder right there in the store. But if you wanted to grind it at home, you're going to want a burr grinder, and that's going to guarantee the most consistent grind quality. Right here we just have a little hand grinder. These are very cheap for you to pick up. They're intended for camping, but they make a great cup of coffee at home. The next thing you're going to need is the French press itself. Most French presses are going to get the job done. The more important steps are the coffee and the grinder itself. Any French press will do for the most part, as long as it's got a good seal across it where the mesh meets the glass, and that way you can get a good solid plunge all the way through. Next, you're going to need a kettle. Now, I just got this kettle for like 30 bucks online, Amazon or something. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is that it has a temperature control of some kind, because the ideal coffee isn't brewed at boiling temperature. It's brewed closer to 200 degrees. So with something like this one, as you can see, we have a digital readout, and that really helps with controlling the temperature and then ending up with a higher quality coffee. And the final thing you're going to need is a good scale. Now, this one has a timer built right into it, which is nice, but everyone has a timer on their phone, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. The most important thing is that it's a reliable scale. That way you can always have a consistent amount of coffee that we're putting into our French press. We're going to be making a 16-ounce cup of coffee today, and the first thing is to weigh out your whole bean for grinding. Today we're going to be using 28 grams of whole bean coffee, which we're going to grind at a coarse grind, about like breadcrumbs or kosher salt, something like that. That could make a really good grind for your French press. Once you have 28 grams of coffee, the next step is to grind it. My favorite thing to do is to find someone who's gullible enough to do it for you.
Oh, I would love to do this. Oh, ooh.
There we go. Now that our coffee has been ground for us, the next step is to add it to your French press.
So you want to take your French press and put it on the scale.
And then you want to go ahead and set that to 0. This is a good step to be able to recheck to make sure that you still had 28 grams, is to add that in, see where your weight is at, and then making sure that you are at 28 grams again, set it to 0. Your next step is going to be taking care of your water. Now you want your water to be at about 200 degrees. The given rule of thumb is between 195 and 205. Now above that temperature, you're going to burn your coffee, so that's why you don't just use full-on boiling water right off of a kettle. So we've got our water set to 200, we've got our scale at 0 with 28 grams of coffee in the French press. We're going to take our water and add it. So we're looking for a good water to coffee ratio. We had 28 grams of coffee that we started with, and so we want, in water weight, after that you've set that to 0, you want to have 450 grams of water that you added to it. Once all of that comes together, we're going to end up with a simple 16 ounces of coffee, don't worry. So we're going to put this on right there, set it down in, and then set your timer for 4 minutes.
Okay, it's been 4 minutes, so now you're ready to plunge and enjoy. So you'll take it off the scale, and you want to make sure you do one even plunge. And then pour.
It's important that you give a nice swirl because it looks nice.
Yes.
That's one recipe for making French press coffee. Don't worry, the French press is really forgiving, so feel free to experiment and have fun with it.
Just remember to enjoy, have fun, and shine on. To accent the heavy body, if you will. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that and that.
Because it's all, you can never tell on video anyways what you're looking at.
Coffee at your casa.
I made some weird faces. I was, yeah. Do you want to start over? And I'll
Oh, God, that's as good as it gets. So that's our recipe. So that's that. Wrap it up. There you go.
So that's that. That's one recipe for making, I don't say that many
That's
times.
that. The first step is that stuff right there. Coffee.
The good.
We rolling?
Yeah, we've been
Oh,
rolling.
we've been rolling. Coffee notes
Yeah, coffee
in it.
notes.
So you just taste coffee, which sometimes French presses make it taste like coffee. And sweet. Mouthfeel, if you want.
What are the
And
words?
your Central American coffees will have a sweeter tones and caramelly accents. Not accents, just notes.
You want to start over?